Hello everyone, I'm Mike Levin from MikeLevinSEO.com, and I'm into the thick of this Gropey project, and unlike previous videos, I've actually done a fair amount ahead of time. You're not going to see every line of code typed in this particular video. But you can see the latest output of the program where, as previously, we identified lumberjack as a function, and we showed the signature of the function in terms of its arguments and default values in the arguments. And then I learned that it's not really a tuple. It looks like a tuple, but it's still a signature object. And then the way to step through a signature object is doing for something in sig.parameters.values. And then you've got a parameter.name and a parameter.default. And when you step through them, if it has a value, like play and status, you get the string value in there. There actually is an empty string in there, and here you get the string OK. But if it's empty, you get an object that inside the object has this inspect dot underscore empty. And it turned out I had to extend the import from inspect import signature. It used to just be signature. I had to do comma underscore empty so that now I can do a comparison, and we will move beyond what I'm showing you right now, which is similar to the last output you saw, to new output that has an idea of truth about param default. So first I'm just going to print we have p default is underscore empty. And I'll get rid of this other print just so that it's not quite so confusing. And you'll see true, false, false, because job has no parameters so that it has that underscore empty attribute, and the other two don't have it, so it's false. So now we actually have a Boolean value to determine whether it's a required parameter or not, because when it has a default value, you don't have to provide it. It'll use the default. So we edit out that display of truth, and we can say, when we're not in insert mode, we can use X's for delete. If the default is empty, then we can print required parameter, else I have the default value. And we'll take a look at how that plays out. Lumberjack is a function with the following signature. Required parameter, lumberjack job. I have a default value for lumberjack play. I have a default value for lumberjack status. OK. So there you have it. We have the program structure required to insist to the user that they provide input for arguments that don't have a default. It must appear in the row somewhere. And we know when not to bother the user. This is a fairly unusual video in that most everything was pre-typed and I had to go researching a bunch of stuff. But this sort of inspection is one of the features of Python, and it allows you to do things on the fly that are not explicitly part of the program flow. We are allowing what is roughly a JSON object, which is really a Python dictionary, to start to define what functions get executed. And we have to use fairly tight control of that, or else there's going to be errors all over the place. And so this is one of those cases where you just have to know the magic incantations, and you just get that by going and doing a bunch of Googling and research. I wish not everything were that way. Things should be more intuitive. But alas, when you're trying to do complex things, they are sometimes complex. And thanks for joining me. I hope to bring it down a little bit to things where you don't need so much knowledge beforehand for it to make sense on the next video tutorials. But I think we got through a lot of the most difficult bits. I hope to see you again soon, and please subscribe.